Welcome to Conscious Being, Conscious Living. This is Eva Pandit, your host on this journey, this exploration, using the tools of Access Consciousness. Today's show topic is using and living the tools in a different time, circumstance, or event. And as with a lot of these shows and episodes, I use my life to extrapolate on the different ways in which we can use the tools, the different ways in which I am using the tools. And my target and my intention here is that it contributes to you in seeing how the tools of consciousness are actually very, very pragmatic and how you can use them no matter what's going on in your life. So, today's episode is a part acknowledgement, a part using of the tools, and a part post processing of what occurred. We're going to have a little bit of a story, and I'm not going to go into the details of it just because it's not relevant. And so many times we make the details and our stories so significant, so relevant that they keep us stuck rather than looking at what else is really possible here. So, just a heads up here, the purpose of this story from my life yesterday is literally to look at what else is possible when a difficult time, circumstance, or an event shows up. So, yesterday, my husband Ajat, we had a bit of a medical emergency in the house. My husband had, don't ask me how or why, but not, he didn't drink water for really long. And so he had a major episode of dehydration, like a serious dehydration. His speech became blurry, slurry, and, it was less present. And I was around and it was, I'm going to be honest for a second, really, really scary. And first of the first thing that I want to get to here with that is in an event of a difficult circumstance or a situation that ever shows up, do you tend to shut down and, be an effect of it? Or do you step the fucking up and show up as more? And have you acknowledged that about you? Have you acknowledged that no matter what the situation or circumstance is in your life, you are always, always 100% of the times greater than that? So when the whole, visually scary event was occurring in front of me, when my husband was getting his speech was starting to get slurry and things like that, and I could just see him just stop being present, and it was quite. I'm not gonna say I was for a second like, what the fuck is going on here? And at the same time, I was using the tools, and this is gonna be really subtle conversation because I do want to highlight here that it's probably going to take me a lot longer to go through how I process the whole thing and what helped me. And so just bear with me. And my target here again is that to just show you that there's a different way of being that's available to also get you to acknowledge the power you already be. We so seldom look at all the ways that we are so brilliant and powerful and are so quick to judge ourselves. So, anyway, so I had to rush into the house, leave him, in the garage, rush into the house, and like there was zero thinking involved. And I immediately jumped into action, and I knew what had to be done. And there was this very fierce energy and presence. I had to be with myself because, one of the things that we talk about in Access, and you learn about it in the foundation class with a lot more detail, is that your body feels and your being senses. And it is so important to really, really, really get that. To really, and actually, I have a show entirely on this topic that body feels, being senses. So feel free to scroll back up and find it. And I'll also link it in the show notes on the different podcast platforms if that's where you're listening to this one. But your body feels and your being senses. So, all of those things that we talk about, like anxiety, or panic or fear, as sensations. And when I say fear, I'm not talking about the kind of, I'm afraid to go on stage and talk, even though that's kind of relevant in a different way too. But right now, what I'm talking about is literally that biological sense of fear, around survival and those kind of things, like that sensation or that feeling that we've defined as fear, which is basically a way in which your physiology works, that it alerts you, it gives you the rush of all the hormones and all the, chemicals that you need to take care of what you need to take care of. So that's the biological part of it, that, your body feels, you physically feel. It's giving you information all the time. And then your being senses. Your being is way greater than your body. And one of the greatest exercises, anytime you're dwindling over finding, trying to find the space of you, you're feeling lost, one of the greatest exercises is to just take a few moments, if you like, close your eyes or not, but try to find the outside edges of you, not the outside edges of your body, but the outside edges of you. And go on that exploration, go out in all directions, really expand out as far as you need to. And notice if you ever find an outside edge of you, or wherever you go, there you are. So I was like, literally, it's like I said, it's taking me, it's going to take some time here to really put to words what occurred in probably like moments. But one of the things that occurred was immediately that awareness came in, that my body feels and being senses. So this, I could call this panic or anxiety or, fear, but fuck it. Like, cool. Yes, I get it. Like, there's something I need to take care of immediately. And there's a rush of emotions. I'm loosely saying that again, because again, it's more like you know, like how your body feels hungry, like how your body's giving you information all the time. And we're so not used to looking at it like that. We're so used to defining and saying that I am hungry, for example, rather than looking at, is it my body? Is my body truly hungry? Like, is that feeling the true feeling of hunger, or is that a feeling that like is that something that I'm craving to suppress my own awareness or all the overwhelm or the things that I'm dealing with? Again, a bit of a side tangent here, but just to highlight here that your body feels, and it's different than your emotional feelings. Your body feels, it gives you information, it creates all these hormonal and chemical reactions in order to prepare you for things. Essentially, that's the biological point of view. But at the same time, your being senses, right? So your being is perceiving what's going on, and that information in your body shows up as a feeling. So in that moment where I had this immediate slight panic almost, and not really, didn't even think about it, but like this whole surge of chemicals come up, like there was a moment where I was traveling up in the elevator to my house to just grab some water. I don't know, I just knew in that moment that, and that's one of the things that when you work with consciousness, there are things you just know. Consciousness, and in fact, you cannot engage with consciousness from a thought level. You have to really, really, really invite yourself to a different space. And that space is not thinking space, that's a knowing space. So I wouldn't know how, but I knew in the moment that I need to go get some water and like electrolyte. We have this thing called liquid IV here, which is I love it. A little what do you call that? Like plug for an unsponsored Just something I love, like liquid IV is it instantly it's an electrol mix that you immediately just feel so much better. So I just immediately knew I had to go get it. Thankfully, there was a neighbor in the garage when we were there, and I asked the neighbor to just watch over him. And I ran upstairs. And while I was in the elevator and stuff, I was noticing how my heart rate has increased. I'm breathing different, and I knew that I just started telling myself, okay, my body's feeling my being is you know way more, and there were no words to that, but that action of really being more, like really expanding out, really being fiercely present. And I ran into the house and I went into the drawer. And I remember there was this tiny moment where I was like panicking and trying to sort through things and all of that. And then in the same moment, immediately I had a tool come up and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, so this is one of the things that the mantra of access consciousness, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory, which I'm just going to explain real brief. It says it's not an affirmation, by the way, because we're not asking for something positive to show up. We are just acknowledging with this mantra the power of our being, that all of life, no matter what, the good, the bad, the ugly, the intense stuff, the difficult stuff, all of it comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. It may not be easy, but I can still have ease. I can be with it. So, like, I started, in that moment when I noticed that tiny moment where I was panicking for a bit, I reshuffled and suddenly, and again, like, it's taken me so long to put this to words. Trust me, guys, this probably was a couple of seconds of energy. Like, that's how fast you are when you're operating from your knowing, from energy, space, consciousness. Time is irrelevant. So it does take time to communicate in words, but it was in a different space. And just using this word to really break down what how I was living the tools. Because later in the night when I was looking at it, I'm like, and I'm still, so it doesn't really end here. This whole, just also heads up, this is not to say, oh my God, look at me, I'm so cool, like I handled it so well. I'm still handling it, trust me. I know I had, like, my body had a PTSD reaction to it. And a part of what I talked about, that this conversation is going to be a part acknowledgement, part using the tools, and part post processing. The acknowledgement part is where you not only acknowledge the power of you, all of that, and you also acknowledge what's going on for you. It's not about excluding, it's not about doing it right, it's not about, uh, being all happy all the time, even though you can still have joy and ease and space no matter what's going on. And so I tend to digress and yet not. So you're just watching my ADD brain in action. So I was in the drawer looking for liquid IV, and I noticed I couldn't find it. And I was like, just trying to just move things around, and it was right there. I knew it, but I couldn't see it. And in that moment, I started really expanding out again and started telling myself, all of life comes to me. No, calm down. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me. I literally started having that conversation in my head. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory, and really reminding me the power of my being and the potency that nope, we're not going into panic. And I get that the body feels it's giving me information, but being senses, and what do I know here? And so immediately, I relaxed. I mean, and when I say relax, it's not that this, even the whole thing around relaxing is so misunderstood. I think that can be a whole different episode in itself. But relaxing is not like, oh, now I'm chilled out. Chilled out is not relaxed. It's part of, like, it could be one way in which you relax, but you could relax into no matter how fierce the situation is around you. So I relaxed into it. Relax is basically when you stop resisting and reacting, you're relaxing into what's going on. Immediately with the whole mantra, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory, I relaxed. And immediately, of course, I could easily find liquid IV. I just grabbed some of them, and yeah, I might have even transmigrated. I, like, quickly was back in the garage and poured the water. Ajit was still, like, thankfully he didn't faint or lose his consciousness completely, but he went in and out, and he, super. And a part of what was occurring while I was going up home and coming back was I started engaging with his being, you know so this is again, to access consciousness has so many incredible tools and so many out of the box tools that you can either judge them or use them and get to receive from them, or whatever works for you. But anyway, so one of the tools in access, one of the active conversations, in fact, again in the foundation class you learn about, is entities, which is, when I say that body senses being senses, body feels, what is that being? That being is an entity. And when I say entity, what comes up for you? And everything, all of that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Because everything is an entity. Anything like the chair I'm sitting on is an entity, right? The book that you read are entities. A tree, like entity is basically acknowledgement of the being that's there. And it it's again, oh, it's such a different conversation, and probably I'm going to do a show around it at some point. But you can literally engage with beings. And so I, throughout, when I went up and came down, while this is simultaneity of everything, okay? So throughout in that space, I'm processing myself, reminding myself all of life comes to me with ease, young glory, being that space and engaging with the entity and asking, my husband, essentially, he the being, that wait, okay, that relax, wait. And I knew that if I panic too much or engage with that energy, that it's gonna like energetically impact, or he'll be aware of that too. So I was very, very conscious about that thing. I remember that, no, I know I'm acknowledging that my body's feeling, and I'm gonna be the infinite being I be with this. And so, anyway, and including my body, including what's going on. Anyways, I went down and we poured him a liquid IV. He was immediately so much better. And within next couple hours, he was totally back and stuff. Everything was okay. We checked, we did a round with the doctors and everything just to make sure everything's okay. And so, this is the story part of it, right? And a little bit of how I was using the tools while the story was going on. One of the things that I want to acknowledge all through this thing is that it was a traumatic event for me. It was not easy to see your husband like really suddenly not be, not be, you know? And so it was traumatic. So acknowledgement of that, a lot of times, we tend to have this point of view, the suck it up, buttercup, and like, just hold yourself together. Yes, hold yourself together is not about excluding what's going on for you. Holding yourself together is about including what's going on for you and acknowledging that you're way more than that. So your body feels, your being senses, and my being, are you an infinite being? I'm an infinite being. I know that, right? And at the same time, there are these, relationships, these communionships, these creationships in my life that are so nurturing, are such a contribution that I would like to have them. you know, I would like to have them in my life. I would like, uh, and I know my husband, like everybody gets to make their own choices. And, again, I'm going so meta with this whole thing. And again, inviting you to look at how you can have a point of view, this is so woo woo, or you can really, really look into and tap into the pragmatics of it. And so, I do know that everybody has choice. We get to choose uh, where we're born. We get to choose. You even have choice even when it comes to death. And I know that's a bit of a controversial thing to say because you can go into logic and trip yourself with it. But if you look at the energy of it and even look at what is more empowering to know, what is more empowering? Having choice or not having choice. So in whatever moments, in whatever ways, that all of us have choice with everything. So everyone gets to choose it. So in that space of acknowledgement, that was also included. And there were so many conversations that I was having with the being, with myself, like, hey, are you dying? And I got, no, okay, cool, you're not. So cool, hang on, wait, I'm coming, we're taking care of this. And so, like, there was so much simultaneity. And one of the reasons why I'm saying this right now is right here is also to acknowledge that life is like that. It's simultaneous, it's non-linear. It doesn't and is not supposed to make sense. Your body feels, your being senses. None of it is wrong. And it is not a, nothing is excluded from each other. And so, what I am wondering about and what my exploration continues to be is, what is it like to be more while including yourself more too in face of a difficult situation, circumstance, event? Now, I have, from a very young age, I've witnessed a lot of deaths in my family, pretty close. So that's an energy I know what it is. And one of the things about, because I was also looking, what's the worst that can happen is a person dies, right? And recognizing as I'm saying things that, it can be such a sadistic conversation as well. And at the same time, the most pragmatic, isn't it? And what if we can have a different conversation, different reality with ourselves, wherein we are included, all the realities are included, all the choices are included, and we really take care of ourselves in that. So this is a part where I'm looking at now taking care of me. I took care, I was there present with what I was required, still am with Ajat, and we're taking care of everything, all is well. So thank you so much for all of your well wishes too. I'm truly, truly grateful. And now it's time for me to also include me more. And I was just before this, I don't know if you guys can tell. Let me see, like for those of you watching this, I kind of had to redo my, like the eyeliner and stuff, because like 10 minutes before I was about to hit record here, I finally, cried. And that was also such, like, including yourself in everything is, it doesn't look the way we think it would. It's not about being perfect. It's about using the tools in the way they work for you in any given 10 seconds, in a way they work, not just for you, but they work in general in any given 10 seconds. And so I was just acknowledging to Ajat, I hugged him and I was like, I cried and I was like, you know what? I need to get my bars run with trifold sequencing systems, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with Access Consciousness bars, I highly recommend you read about them. You can go to, just search for Access bars, or you can go to my website, avapandit.com. I have a tab on Access bars with a little bit information on what it can create. You can also book a session with me if you'd like to come and experience it for yourself. But bars is basically, I cannot even tell you how much I credit my mental health to it. I literally have a lineage of things that in this reality are called mental disorders and stuff like that. So I've always been very aware and very present with my mental health, and nothing has, like, I've used things and done things that, that make me feel better. But when it comes to really just being better, not feeling better, I credit a lot of it, all of it actually, 99% of it to Access bars, and then 1% to my choice too. Maybe 50-50. Let's do that. But Access bars is this gentle hands on modality that to me is such a kindness for yourself and your being. And then there are all of these, there's so many different body processes as well in Access Consciousness. And by the way, later in the evening I also did some body process on Ajit, and he beautifully received and slept, started snoring pretty soon as I started running those processes, so that was amazing. And um and so I was looking at how I now also need to take care of myself, that I'm noticing a little bit of a post-traumatic sensation, like your body feels. So I'm like, what did, and this is the part where I'm doing the post-processing now, where I'm looking at, okay, what am I holding on to? And what is coming up for me? Something as simple as that. Acknowledging that, being with it, not resisting it, not making myself wrong, never telling yourself, I shouldn't be feeling like that anymore. This is, Cognitive behavior therapy. Come on, I'm a psychologist trained. I do know what all of that is. And cognitive behavior therapy, where you start logically look at it, it has its space. I'm not going to lie. I've used that in my life too. Just doesn't work for me anymore. And so, like, it's way too slow and way too painful and way too tedious. And so, like, what's way faster for me now is to just be with it, make sure that I'm acknowledging what's going on, and be with the energy of it rather than the words of it, and look at everything that's coming up. Pock and Pod and Povad, which is another tool of access consciousness. I'm just looking at how much this, if you're new to access consciousness, you might be like, what are these different things this lady's talking about? And if you have that question in your universe, awesome! How does it get any better than this? If you're not new to access, you're familiar with it, you probably are getting it in a different way too. That really just being with that energy and everything that is, just change that energy. I'm allowing myself to have the space I require to allow my body to process it. Essentially, me, the being, knows. It's my body that feels. And so, what would it be like to include it more? Is what I'm looking at. And so, crying was a part of it. I might cry more. And what if none of that was wrong? Like, how many times we've made crying wrong? And especially, I see it more often. I mean, in the world of feminism, it's everywhere, but I see it more often also how much the men are excluded from this, like men don't cry kind of a point of view, which also is changing in our current world. So, also acknowledging that. But what if crying is not wrong? It's one of the ways in which your body releases, and it's what if it's not significant either? Ever seen a baby cry and then laugh immediately after that, like just released and now I'm happy again? What if we adults can be like that too? Allow ourselves to receive that ease. All of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory. And so I cried. I might cry more. And I'm looking at what else. And so the reason I had the whole story around bars, because there's this thing called trifold sequencing system, a process that you can run along with bars, which is known to help people with trauma and PTSD and things like that. And so I just so knew that, it'll be such a kindness for my body to receive that process. And so I'm looking at, okay, yes, how are we going to do that? And, I'm probably going to reach out to someone. And my husband, and he himself runs bars, and so grateful for all of that too. So, yeah. What if we started including ourselves more? And when I say ourselves, any definition you have of that, everywhere you've decided this is who you are, would you be willing to let go of it, please? Because what if you're way more than that? Have you considered? What if you're way more, way greater than you can ever define or put to words? Right? So everywhere you've decided this is who I am, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all and allow yourself to receive a greater possibility of who you truly be? So that's my invitation for you today, guys. That I know, like, we are here on our beautiful planet Earth. And, we are part of this physical experience, this physical reality. And sometimes things can be difficult. There can be times, circumstances that show up, that aren't very pleasant. Life is not meant to be all rosy all the time. And it still can be a lot of ease, a lot of joy, a lot of glory all the time. And ease, joy, and glory is not a positive thing. It's just the acknowledgement of you, the being. So if you are going through anything difficult in your life, I get it. I get it. Please know your body feels, your being senses, and they're not separate. All of it is you. Include it all. Include your body that's feeling, that might need some extra support, no matter what that looks like, however long it takes, or whatever it takes. And include your being. Because you, the being, is so much more and so much greater than you allow yourself to know most of the times. So that's my invitation to you. And If there's something you're dealing with, you would like to talk through, please feel free to reach out. You can also book a session with me on my website, evapandit.com. And regardless of what you choose, my invitation to you today is to acknowledge you more, and not the you that you think you are, but you, the infinite being you truly be, and include your body in that. What kindness can you be that would allow you to have your reality no matter what's going on? All right, my friend, we'll meet again soon on another exploration. I do want to talk, I know I want to talk about another thing around reactions with parents. My parents are around. I don't know if you knew that, and I'm so different. And I do want to share with you what's changed. So watch out for that one next too. And oh my God, I'm just looking at your messages. Thank you, Nurhan. Yeah, truly. How does it get any better than this? See you guys another time. Bye bye.